Far be it from me to question the NFL's decision-making ability, or rather its business aptitude. After all, it is one of the most successful professional sports leagues in the world and never seems to have much of a problem raking in boatloads of cold hard cash year over year. But sometimes, I think they might need to hire someone outside consultants to come in and help them make decisions on lesser issues that really should never end up escalating to the point that they do. Perhaps it is because the league's executives are just a little too close to the situation to think soundly, but for whatever reason, they routinely botch some of the simplest decisions that come across their desks. You know, things like squashing out fun new ideas, like custom face masks, or anything that lets the player feel individualized, really. The fans and the media will probably never know what really is going on behind closed doors in the NFL corporate office as they make decisions on things like the custom face mask debacle, but man, do I wish we did. They seem to overthink, overcomplicate, and over NFL things all the time. There's a reason people say that the NFL stands for No Fun League, rather than the National Football League. Actually, there are a few dozen, but that's a story for another day. And, well, banning customized face masks is just a drop in the no fun bucket when it comes to the NFL stopping new innovative ideas in their tracks. For some reason, this one really struck a chord with the players. And interestingly, the decision to move away from custom face masks actually saw an equal distribution of backlash from the media, fans, and players alike. And that's when you know that something was a bad idea. To get those three groups all largely on the same side of a decision, it has to be something that is just overwhelmingly bad, and this one was. Although, the trend of designing and wearing these custom face masks was really starting to pick up speed in 2012 with big-name players, primarily on the defensive side of the ball. Guys like Giants defensive end Justin Tuck and the fearsome Cowboys edge rusher DeMarcus Ware. Many people around football credit former San Diego Chargers great LaDainian LT Tomlinson as its forefather, back when LT was already one of the most popular players in the league, for the explosive and exciting running style he exhibited while absolutely torching defenses in the 2000s. He started wearing these awesome tinted shields above his face mask. This made LT one of the first big names in the league to stray away from the NFL's tradition of conformity, and the fans loved it. Now, that's not to say that LT invented altering your helmet or anything too drastic like that. That would be doing a disservice to the other pioneers of the helmet game who helped shape the concept as we know it today. Guys like Hall of Famer Deion Sanders, who popularized the EG style design to the point it was commonly referred to as the Deion. Or the NFL's all-time leading rusher Emmitt Smith, who had the bars of his face mask relocated to the temple of the helmet in order to prevent opponents from wrapping their fingers around his goggles. In fact, very few of the NFL's players have the kind of generic one-size-fits-all face mask like you would have seen watching pro football back in the day. There is so much money at stake nowadays, and no expense is spared making sure that the players are feeling as protected and prepared as possible to play the game. Anyway, while these pioneers were the first to start strategically altering their helmets, LT came along and turned the game on its head. He sported one of the sleekest designs pretty much known to mankind, and was dominant while he did it. Not only were the fans into it, but Shoot Sports, one of the leading football helmet making companies, were quite supportive of the star running back, essentially launching a new product line for him. The way they saw it, Tomlinson was such a great player, and having the slick looking face mask only magnified the degree of swagger and intimidation that he carried himself with. He looked pretty imposing. Glenn Beckman, director of marketing communications, explained to Sports Illustrated, "Intimidation is a big part of the game of football, and he looked like the Predator when he had his tinted eye shield with that Darth Vader mask on." It's not quite a surprise that we're seeing the next step in the way some of these players set their personal brand. It's a way for them to not only show themselves off a little bit, but get as much protection. Of course, Tomlinson did retire in 2011, but once he hung up the spikes, Justin Tuck, a defensive end for the New York Giants at the time, took the torch and ran with it. It was at this point that the trend really started to blow up. And like Tomlinson before him, for Tuck, it certainly helped that he was one of the most popular players in the league at the time. He was coming off of Pro Bowls and All-Pro selections, and lest we forget the pivotal role he played in helping Eli Manning and the Giants dethrone the New England Patriots not once, but twice, including the infamous 18 wins and 1 Giant lost Super Bowl, where Tuck and that epic Giants defense stopped one of of the greatest offensive teams of all time, keeping them from the first perfect season since the '72 Dolphins. I'm sure there's a degree of vanity in Tuck's implementation of the custom face mask. In fact, I think he's been pretty candid about how much he likes the look. But he still maintains that the genesis of the idea, for him at least, originates from an on-the-field reason. Tuck had suffered a neck injury that just wasn't going away, in part because of all the offensive linemen that were continually catching fingers on his mask and twisting his neck as he tried to blow past him. Unsure of what to do, he actually turned to another vet to get some insight, and actually got the idea for the design of his custom face mask from a prototype that was originally produced for one of his former teammates, Chris Canty. Canty had gotten hit in the face by a glass bottle while spectating a bar fight ahead of the 2005 draft, and the result was a detached retina. Fortunately, he was able to get to emergency surgery, and by all accounts, his eye hasn't given him any real issues since. But the doctors had warned Canty that if he got poked in the eye during a game, his career, or worse, his vision, could be over in the blink of an eye. That inspired Canty to create the prototype that Tuck would go on to use for his design. So Tuck started wearing a mask with tiny holes drilled between the bars of the guard, which not only stopped opposing offensive linemen from tangling their mitts in his mask, but also looked pretty damn cool. Cool enough that people started to take notice, and it became a huge talking point on social media every Sunday. You simply couldn't talk about Justin Tuck without mentioning his new look. Even the Sunday Night Football Twitter was getting involved. A few other players around the league started to inquire about masks of their own, and even EA Sports, the makers of the Madden video game franchise, started to explore ways of integrating the custom designs within their games. Needless to say, the custom face mask buzz was taking the sports world by storm. Custom face masks look poised to be one of the most popular fads in football, similar to the arm and leg sleeves that we've seen take over in NBA circles. Some of our younger fans may not realize this, but there was a time not too long ago when hardly anyone in the NBA wore those sporty sleeves we see basically everyone on the court wearing nowadays. Not until Allen Iverson made it a part of his look, and then damn near everyone simply had to get one. But that is the difference between the NBA and the NFL, because while the NBA let the sleeves become a staple of the game's attire and subsequently made countless money selling licensed apparel, the NFL, of course, felt that it simply had to step in and stick its nose where no one else wanted it. So in 2013, with a look at the height of its popularity, they released a mandate that disallowed any players who were not explicitly wearing the custom face mask for medical reasons from doing so. And the medical clearance was not a formality. There were no workarounds or claiming preventative measures. If you didn't have a pre-existing condition like Canty's eye or Tuck's neck injury that opposing linemen kept re-aggravating, you were out of luck. It isn't like the NFL were just overreacting because it felt like players were lying about medical concerns to get access to masks either. There were plenty of players who were just about as candid as they could be when talking about the custom face masks and why they wanted to wear them. I mean, Darnell Dockett literally took to Twitter and begged the NFL, explaining the players just wanted to have some swag. You can't ask for a more honest, straightforward plea than that. And to be fair, he did have one of the coolest masks of anyone in the league at the time, so he was justified in requesting his swag back, at least if you ask me. I mean, look at this thing. I wouldn't be surprised if it was the quarterbacks of the NFL that begged the league to get him banned. Imagine squatting down under center and seeing Darnell Dockett lined up across the line of scrimmage, looking like a robot sent from the future specifically to sack you. All jokes aside, while masks seem like a rather trivial concern in a billion-dollar industry, the talent was not pleased with the league for its decision to make customizing your face mask outlawed. And as I'm sure you might expect, the players, who not only wanted the swag but felt that the tightly woven face masks were a plus when it came to injury prevention, were especially none too pleased. Like Washington Redskins linebacker Brian Orakpo, who was informed by the NFL that his medical claim wouldn't suffice, and he was not going to be allowed to wear the custom grill-style face mask that he had been donning during the previous season. It's kind of tough, Orakpo explained to the Washington Post back in August of 2013. Obviously, it's different, and it does have a sort of look appeal to it, but it's also for protection as well. We're supposed to be all about protection, and we get denied for something that benefits us. It's something that's kind of disheartening. I have to make the switch just for the time being after all that work. But you know, the league is kind of funny about trying to alter stuff. We're still trying to fight it, but they obviously denied everybody. You had a lot of guys, myself, Robert Mathis, Darnell Dockett. There's a lot of guys that got denied. It was pretty disheartening, but I'll be alright. Now, you might look at our Akpo statement and think, okay, here's a scoring player who's ticked off about a decision. But if you look closer at his word choice, you'll notice that he speaks somewhat ominously about the league's decision to ban the custom face mask. Like there is something else going on besides the actual face masks, which, if you look at the NFL statement it released on its website at the time, seems all the more realistic. Check out this excerpt from the memo. A study conducted by the University of New Hampshire for the NFL states that the added weight of the masks negatively affect the structure of the helmet, can cause neck fatigue that could lead to a more head-down posture during contact and provide a false sense of security during tackling. It continued to say, based on research from the National Operating Committee on Standards for Athletic Equipment, the non-standard face masks more frequently fail safety and certification tests and aren't up to NFL safety standards. Not only does it sound like yet another example of the league posturing when it comes to player safety concerns, but also another instance of it trying its damnedest to eliminate any individuality while keeping its players in line. The NFL can puff its chest all it wants to, talking about player safety this and random study that, but this is just the league muscling around the players again. If they were really concerned about the correlation between custom face mask and player safety, they would have taken some of their gigantic operating income and used it to work with some professionals to find a way to ensure the safety of these masks. Because if the players feel safer and the structural integrity can be preserved, it seems like a win-win to me. But alas, such is the life when dealing with the NFL. All they care about is pretending like player safety is a concern, when in actuality, they just want to squash individual personalities and keep on lining their pockets. But that's enough for us for today. Which is your favorite custom face mask design in NFL history? Let us know in the comment section below. If you like this video and learned a thing or two, clicking the like button helps out a ton, and hey, we appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.